Lee Eoyhin is excited to be a newbie after failing as a gamer for 15 years. His nightmare has ended, and he has vowed to never repeat the same mistakes. He is the new hotshot gamer who is conquering monsters, collecting gear, and making enough money to transform his life. Will he succeed in the game this time, or will the game manage to break him once again? Let's find out. Lee thinks that he is rotten water, which is the Korean slang for someone who has been obsessed with a game for too long. He explains that Deus Ex Machina is a virtual reality game that appeared online about 15 years ago. He fell in love with the game and devoted his whole life to it. Now it's 15 years later. No new players are coming up to replace the old ones. It looks like they're going through a strengthening practice to get back in the game. Previously, he managed to be the squadron leader, guild master, and castle lord in the game, but now he hopes that his lifestyle will finally come to an end. He is absolutely ecstatic to find out that his strengthening is successful, yet he decides to ramp it up some more. He comes straight to the 5th strengthening level. It looks like this is his lucky day. But the real deal starts now, for which he prays to every god he can think of, asking them to lend him some of their strength. It turns out that his prayers are answered when he manages to reach the 6th strengthening round. He pushes it to the 7th round and can't contain his joy when it is also a success. He doesn't have to be scared of a loan shark now, as he already has the principal amount to repay now. He can have a fresh start, and with the strengthening sword, he can make even more dough by hunting top-grade monsters. He considers his options of selling the blade. However, what will be left of him if he does? He is a 35-year-old man with gaming as his only addiction. Greed has taken over him and wants to try the strengthening one last time. After all, there is a huge price difference between the 7th and 8th levels. He had a ruined life to begin with, since he doesn't have family, friends, or a lover, but if he is successful, he can even buy an apartment for himself. He takes the chance and tries to go for the next round, which is again successful. God really does exist, doesn't he? Now he wants to try his luck even more. He can reach the 9th round and buy an even nicer apartment, recover his relationships, and live out the best days of his life. This bet sounds good enough for him, so he starts the process once again. However, the strengthening has failed and his sword has been destroyed. Lee is dumbstruck. Wasn't today supposed to be the best day of his life? He is accusing himself for trying again. He could have easily fulfilled his dream with the 8th round sword. Why did he have to be so greedy? He's crying and has started to feel dizzy. Why did he ever have to start playing this game? He wakes up with a jolt in a hospital room where he is informed that he experienced a seizure while testing the open beta version. As an apology, the management has decided to provide him with a new capsule as well as a small sum of condolence money. Lee is getting deja vu. This has clearly happened before. How has it been just 15 minutes since he laid down in the capsule? Has he gone back to the past? Lee looks at his skin, which is too smooth for a 35-year-old. He doesn't even have any wrinkles now. Where are all those years of playing a dream? Lee tells how this game turned his life upside down, even though his mess-up wasn't anything big. A junior had borrowed an item for their live stream, and now he wishes that he had given her a sucker punch instead of a trade window. She was soon found by a rival gang on the hunting ground, and lost the item she borrowed as well as got PK'd. Maybe she deserved it anyway. After that, Lee did everything he could to find the missing item's gap, and even took a loan. Basically, he tried to solve real-life problems with games, and the longer the game existed, its stock value kept dropping. In the end, he had to collect all the loans and purchase the ruling sword, as he thought he would be okay if he strengthened and sold it. However, we are all aware of what happened in the end. Lee can't believe that everything he suffered wasn't real, and he decides to play the game again. He is transported into the virtual reality of Deus Ex Machina, and he is glad to find that it's exactly the same as it was 15 years ago, but he is scared that it might turn out to be a completely different game. The only weapon he has is the wooden sword, so he picks it up, and his first prey is the Carnage Bee. Killing this bee is easy for him, as making a cup of instant ramen. There's a huge bee behind him as well, but Lee remembers that he just has to attack his neck to kill it. He whacks it with skill since his body feels much lighter than when he was 35 years old. He finds the Carnage Bee Stinger, and Lee is happy that the game is exactly the same as he remembers. He really has just gone back 15 years into the past, but he will look at it as a second chance. This time, he wants his experience in the game to be different, as he is going to monopolize all the items he can find. Lee looks at the tutorial tower, which consists of 10 floors, where the difficulty level and the number of monsters increases with each floor. A player needs to get to the top in order to reach level 10 and venture into the main world of the game. The monsters in the game are grossly strong, and it takes time to deal with them. However, it didn't even take him a few seconds to kill the Carnage Bee. Lee already knows more than enough information about this game, like attacking the vital points minimizes combat time. He knows that there are 3 monsters on floor 3 and 6 monsters on floor 6, but he is confident that he will defeat them in no time. The next instant, Lee is standing with his wooden sword, and apparently, he has cleared the floor 9 tutorial in minimum time, which becomes a world record. He registers stagnant water as his username, and is given a choice to select the difficulty level for floor 10. A sane person wouldn't normally choose a hard level, but who said Lee is sane? He selects the C+ rank, which is the hardest rank, but he isn't scared, since he has fought monsters with A+ and S rank. Meanwhile, players from all over the world are curious about this stagnant water, who is breaking records. An unknown person is ready to recruit Lee whenever he shows his face. What will he recruit him into, though? On the other hand, Lee has managed to defeat the C+ monster called the Skeleton King with a few hits. He also got some pretty useful items like an armor suit, so the tutorial wasn't a complete waste of time. Suddenly, he remembers about a hidden quest in the tutorial's tower's actual top floor, which only opens up for the top performers. Lee discloses the hidden floor and is thrown back on the floor instantly. He is shocked to see the S-rank monster who is the torture technician of the Dragon Prison. It looks like he underestimated this game yet again. The torture technician of the Dragon Prison belongs to the Dragon Tribe, which first made an appearance 10 years after the game's official service began. How is Lee supposed to catch the monster which has taken down rankers before? However, soon Lee notices that the torture technician is restrained and can't use its true strength. Looks like this is a nerfed version of the original monster. This just might be an unfair Easter egg to kill the poor newbies, but Lee isn't giving up on it easily. He begins to fight with the monster, extremely thankful that his wooden sword is unbreakable. Lee has to attack the monster for several days in a war of attrition, and he has time to spare. 3 months later, he has finally defeated the Tourer and raised his level. Lee also acquires the Chisel of Death weapon, which belonged to the God of Calamity, who had risen to the #1 ranking. When presented with the choice, Lee refuses to side with the demons or dragons and wants to remain a human. Later, Lee appears in the beginner's village, and everyone is extremely uncomfortable with him roaming around naked. This is where he is confronted by a few fellow players who try to bully him into telling them where he got his weapons and armor from. Lee isn't ready to be pushed around by them and tells them that they can get everything they want if they go with him to a quiet and isolated place. Lee has finally managed to take them to a quiet place and confronts them about bullying newbies and stealing their stuff. He looks ready to beat them to death while they try to fight back. However, Lee's skills are far superior, and they know that this guy is not actually a beginner. After dealing with them, he finds out that they have slimes which he will need for a dungeon he's planning to clear. This little fight wasn't a complete waste of time after all. Moreover, Lee is over the moon when he finds out that the armor he put up for auction got sold for an insane amount of money. He is ready to keep listing items like there's no tomorrow. Soon, Lee stands on top of a tree, looking at the shaking demon maze that is far beyond the plains. He's also really excited about the fresh slime juice walkers that are squishy boots which will help him walk in the first half of the game. He is on a mission to find the item that Earthquake Archer used to use, which wasn't arrows that archers normally used. However, on his way, he soon comes across a green demon called Oni, and he begins to fight it, but soon finds out he's still too slow. But he is good at running fast, so he does that and finds a secret passageway in the maze as if it's his own house. His happiness is short-lived when he finds a giant monster standing in front of him after he manages to enter the passageway. The dungeon boss has appeared in front of Lee, and the monster is preparing for an earthquake. Was it bored, waiting for someone to come and visit it? Lee looks back and uses the chisel on the rest of the demons that have followed him into the dungeon. Thank God for the dismemberment perk of the chisel. Since he has taken care of all the weaklings, Lee is ready to take on the boss. 3 hours later, Lee has successfully defeated this demon as well, and is ready to face his next targets. He moved on to the Nightmare Forest on the outskirts of the beginner village, where he is being chased by a wet spider for stealing its food, and leads the spider straight into the territory of the Longsword Needle King Cobra. This really is a great tip for getting rid of 2 bosses at once, and it's the wet spider versus the King Cobra. Is he just going to watch them until they've killed each other off? Lee is auctioning off the items he has collected, and is glad to see the players going crazy over them, making him wonder if he was also the same once upon a time. He is still getting adjusted to being their top-tier player. This is when he gets a call from his uncle, and he has no option but to pick it up. His uncle goes off on him for not visiting him and wasting his time on a stupid game. He gets shouted at throughout the conversation and forgets being a top-tier player. He clearly has a long way to go. He goes back into the game to start the real quest and get out of the beginner's village while his uncle is still going off at him on the phone. Lee has entered Area B, the brutal desert, where the ruins of the ancient forgotten civilizations are waiting for him. He starts his way toward the dungeon he wants to enter and comes across the monster called Sandworm. His plan is to make it run after him, since he wasn't able to defeat it in the past either. He runs as fast as he can and enters the dungeon through an opening while the Sandworm is nowhere to be seen. However, he runs into a couple of siblings who invite him to do the raid with her, since they have been stuck there for days. Looks like he knows the couple already, but they don't know him yet since he's in the past, and he agrees to do the raid with them. Lee remembers that these 2 are siblings, and thanks to them, his precious life was quite difficult. Maybe he should hold grudges to the max and give them a taste of their own medicine. He agrees to do the raid with them, and the trio enters the room of the boss monster called the Nameless Queen. When the siblings turn around, they find Lee gone and the doorknob broken, so they can't even escape. They decide to fight the monster themselves, so they can become pioneers in the game. The siblings begin the fight, but they are having a hard time with causing any harm to the Nameless Queen. While Lee watches them from a crack in the door, he observes that their coordination is pretty good, and it might be because they're top 30 rankers. On the other hand, the monster has suddenly changed her pattern of attack, which catches the siblings off guard. It's hard for them to avoid her new pattern, and it looks like it's too late, until Lee steps in to save the day with a single strike. He has taken the last hit, which annoys the siblings since he was hiding until now. Lee obviously wants them to be more grateful since he saved their lives. Lee's level is increased and he disappears again, while the girl among the siblings transforms into the Nameless Queen herself, while her brother is left shocked. The newly turned queen's real name is Yu Da-Hui, and her conscious mind can't understand what is happening with her while her brother is presented with the choice to defeat the monster that has possessed the body of his sister. Da-Hui has the option to forget her past relationship and defeat her brother, who is the invader of the dungeon, and get a reward. On the other hand, Lee is glad that he managed to defeat the monster by sitting tight and doing nothing. Da-Hui has made her choice and killed her brother, and is waiting for her reward to arrive. But looks like the raid isn't over yet, since she hasn't defeated the other invader, Lee. Da-Hui is furious with him and tries hard to kill him as well, but is annoyed when Lee manages to dodge all of her attacks. This makes Lee up his game, and he uses the chisel to attack her since she is a lot weaker after her previous battle. He tries to convince him to leave her, since the queen has left her body, but Lee had planned on killing her anyway, so he does it. This makes him the first player to clear this raid, and he gets the bronze sword of an ancient civilization as the reward. He is about to collect the things that were dropped by the siblings when he is interrupted by Da-Wei's dead video message and starts threatening him. He takes it as his signal to leave the game and finds out that he has video recorded the whole raid. He's pretty bored, so he decides to upload this legendary raid to the community. The siblings are furious with Lee in the real world, since he uploaded the video of the raid for the whole world to see. Da-Hui wants revenge for being humiliated like this. This is when Chang's goons return to tell him that someone isn't paying back their debts. and he makes plans to be as ruthless to him as possible. It is also shown that he is making a capsule room and wants more money for it. Later, at Pro Gamer Team Seoul KI's research room, Lee's video is being watched with full concentration. They can't fathom that he managed to defeat a B+ rank without any difficulty. Obviously, they can't put food on the table if a guy like him is out there. The director, Jae-young, tells them to send a message to the stagnant water guy as he wants him on their team. He's willing to give him any salary he wants. This will surely make Lee happy. However, Lee turns down their offer, and the director can't believe it and he faints. Meanwhile, one of the team members is observing Lee's movements in the video, and it looks like he has done this raid 100 times. Back in the game, Lee has defeated the sewage snake and entered the hidden underground dungeon. Thinking back, he says that he was a bit shocked even though he figured out how the view count on this video would be high. However, he never thought that gamers all over the world would be talking about it. Thankfully, he had censored his face in the video, or he would have been too famous for his own good. He is wondering about the pro gamer offer, but figures that it isn't the right time yet. Lee is soon welcomed by the crying statue Pygmalion, whose request for destruction is denied by him. The statue asks him to take revenge from the one who turned him into a statue instead, and a new quest presents itself to Lee. Lee is thinking about this strange quest that he had only heard about but never knew someone who actually completed it. He's on a boat going towards his destination of the new quest but finds Da Wei waiting for him on shore. She has come here to take revenge along with everyone Lee has wronged. Lee is surrounded by a large group of people who hate him, but he figures that he can actually use them. He manages to get away from their attacks and asks them all to accompany him on a secret raid, leaving everyone confused. He agrees to provide them with the information about the monsters and quests in return, which catches Da Wei's attention as well as she wants to become a pioneer. Thus, their party is formed, including the siblings of Seoul KI affiliate pro gamer Mate Gang. Mate Gang is #1 in the national rankings and the best fighter in the best of the fighter class. Lee can't contain his fanboy for a moment after looking at him, but wonders why he is there. The party is going through the meat-boiling jungle when they are bored with trash D-rank monsters, and they are already restless. They come across a circus, which is basically the hidden dungeon they have been looking for. Lee is about to enter the circus tent first when Chang beat him to it and sees a number of monsters just waiting for them inside. Lee appears in the tent and starts fighting all the circus clown monsters one by one, without getting hit even once. Chang watches while Lee kills multiple C+ rank monsters in an instant inside the tent, and he can't believe it. Well, honestly, Lee's companion know that he doesn't lack anything, and some of them were curious about his abilities, which is why they have joined the raid. The old bullies are also in the party who want Lee to share the rewards with them, since he just keeps on killing the monsters on his own. They are shocked to find that Lee instantly agrees to share all the items fairly, but Da Wei doesn't trust him at all and believes that he definitely has a hidden agenda. They open the door to the next floor of the dungeon, which is too empty at this moment, and the statue of the crying Galatea is standing in the middle. Lee is impressed with Da Wei, who quickly catches on that the statue is the monster. The party tries to attack the monster, but to no avail. Apparently, they can only attack the statue when it's moving. Does Lee have a plan to make it move? Lee tells everyone that he is going to defeat the statue on his own, and he has brought everyone here because they are useful. Moreover, he tells them to hand over their money. Lee wants a survival fee from the party since he's giving them a chance to live by defeating the statue. However, his party isn't as understanding when he asks for 100 million gold. Da Wei is supposed to give her brother's fee as well, and she tells Lee that she isn't going to pay an upfront fee when she doesn't even trust him. He suggests that she can put the amount as a security deposit, and is ready to give them the reward he gets after defeating the statue. His party is left confused as they can't believe that he is giving up the reward, which will easily have a B+ rank. All of the 6 members of the party start depositing the amount one by one, and Lee can't contain his happiness. He knows that his party members are too desperate that they have given up so much just to be pioneers. He prepares to fight the statue and tells the rest of the party to close their eyes as the statue turns into a monster when people look away and attacks the closest player. Lee moves nearer to the statue and attacks him. but he makes his party members open his eyes, which makes the monster turn back into a statue. Its attack pattern resets every time it stops, and Lee is going to take advantage of this. He instructs them to close their eyes again, and all of the party members have just one thought churning their head at this moment. They all want to see what's actually happening around them. Lee is trying to use all of his skills to defeat the statue since he's confident that he can do it. Meanwhile, Wei wonders what will happen if she opens her eyes and looks at the monster. She figures that Lee will be killed in an instant if she does so, and is confused about whether she should roll the dice. This is when they open their eyes and find out that Lee has successfully defeated the crying Galatea statue and his deposit gets released into his account. He is glad that now he has 7 million. His bank account is going to be full for sure. Wei is furious that there aren't any rewards around for them yet. When they hear the statue screaming and the body sealed within the statue is being awakened. The real boss monster, Medusa, is awakening, taking everyone by surprise. The party members look at it to stop it from moving, and some of them start turning into stone. It looks like the pattern for this monster is different, since Lee has closed his eyes and he is ready to fight Medusa as well. He is aware that Medusa stands still for 30 seconds when she is awakened, but he knows her full attack pattern, so it's a golden opportunity for him. But he is interrupted by Ma Taegang, and Lee can't believe that he hasn't turned into stone yet. Maybe he managed to close his eyes as well. Ma Taegang emerges and suggests that he and Lee should fight. The two players begin fighting and are given tough competition to each other. Lee can't do much damage to him and wonders how he got so strong when they've been playing for the same amount of time. Lee looks at Taegang's equipment as he has a Wanderer's Gauntlet, Dave Rock armor, a Victory helm, and Gambler's Scurry. Lee is having a fanboy moment again, looking at the combat god. Taegang doesn't like that Lee is dodging his attacks as if they have fought 100 times. Lee attacks his chin, which is his sensitive spot, and finishes the fight with the last strike. Taegang's ego looks hurt as he challenges Lee that he will be the one to defeat Medusa before him. Lee can do nothing but admire his old hero for his courage, but can't help making him angry by declaring that he can kill this monster with his eyes closed. Taegang is left shocked, while Lee proceeds to close his eyes and remember Medusa's attack pattern, and he is ready to fight the monster. Lee's bronze shield has been broken, so he can't use that to fight against Medusa. But no biggie, since he has other skills. He's trying to remember Medusa's active abilities and comes up with a battle plan. All of her powers are extremely dangerous, but Lee knows how to recognize them with his eyes closed. And when Medusa finally dives at him herself, her health would already be mostly used up, and he will use his ancient bronze sword since Medusa's weakness is bronze. He finally launches his final attack at her and becomes the first player to defeat Medusa. He gets many rewards. Lee goes back to Medusa, who asks him to kill her child and send him to the underworld with her. This is a secret quest though, and he is given a black key if he accepts this quest. It's a brand new day and Lee wakes up at his same old house, which is infested with bugs. Maybe he needs to finally move now. He goes to find a different place and is impressed by one of the houses he sees. At least there are no cockroaches here. Lee is also being approached by broadcasting networks for interviews as word is spread about him being a newbie who has taken the gaming world by storm. Lee agrees to partner with them for some money, of course. On the other hand, Wei is extremely angry at Lee for scamming them and still being so popular on the internet. Chang doesn't think that it's fair that he is getting all the credit for the Medusa hunt when all of them went for the hunt. It gets even worse when one of Chang's henchmen arrives and starts making fun of Wei for dying in all of Lee's videos of the game. Now she actually has a plan to make Lee's life harder, and she can't wait to begin. Lee arrives at a new dungeon and finds 3 of the C+ ranked monsters killed before he can arrive. He wants to know who got there before him, when he is interrupted by a giant blue Oni. 3 hours later, he has defeated the blue Oni and wonders who was attacking it with arrows when he arrived. Maybe someone is attempting a solo raid here. When he goes a few steps further, a huge Gorgon appears in the dungeon, which is a ferocious monster, and Lee knows that this is a top-tier monster to oppose. However, he spots someone standing in front of the Gorgon with a weapon. How can it be? The archer character in front of the Gorgon is Drake Kett, who was a top-ranked player in the world. However, Lee remembers that he disappeared from the game one day and no one knows why, which is why he is a big mystery. Lee is highly impressed when he watches Drake bring down the Gorgon to 5% health level and finally takes it down. But it's not over yet, and Lee tries to warn him. Drake is suddenly faced with a Jormungandr, which is an enormous snake that is summoned by Lee to save him. Drake is thankful to him and promises to save Lee's life at least twice in return. Lee is excited as the #1 player has promised to save his life and asks Drake to use one of the chances to save his life now since he plans to reach the deepest level of this gameplay. He takes out his black key and uses it to separate the floor while Drake watches with an open mouth. Thus, they become the first visitors in the hidden dungeon, where they will have to face the lost boss who is Medusa's son, the Basilisk. The Basilisk was imprisoned by its father, the Black Dragon, due to fear of revolt, and Drake is excited after finding out about this lost boss. The Basilisk has high defense and reflects most of the damage back to its attacker, so the players will have to come up with a good strategy to fight it. Lee goes in first, and Drake is shocked since Basilisk is literally shooting poison. Lee misses an attack when Drake jumps in to assist as well. Lee tells him to start running, so they run as fast as they can towards the other end of the dungeon. Lee's plan is to outrun the monster for 3 hours until its health gets depleted and come out to attack it then. The next second, they are running together trying to evade the Basilisk's poison by jumping from one floor to the next. Lee leads him to the pillars where the Blue Ani and the Basilisk stand facing each other, making him glad that he can buy some time now. Blue Ani and the Basilisk are fighting, and Drake asks Lee if he deliberately summoned Blue Ani. Of course he did, as he is aware that the Basilisk attacks anything that enters its territory. The Basilisk defeats the Ani, and his health comes down to 50%, and they lead it to the first floor, and now they have nowhere else to go. Now is the time for Lee's secret item to shine, which is the amalgam foot leather, and causes the Basilisk to fall down all the 8 floors of the dungeon, which will hopefully lower its health. Now they will wait for the Basilisk to come up so that Lee can finish it off with a single strike from the chisel. And soon, he does exactly this and clears the Basilisk raid. As a reward, he gets an A+ rank armor. Lee and Drake decide to go out and get all the items they can collect from the dungeon, when Drake tells him that all the guilds have ordered for him to die. Lee is confused when Drake tells him that he also got a bounty to kill him, and his life may actually be in danger. Lee laughs after hearing this, as he is unimpressed with newbies coming after him. Surely he can get rid of all of them early as well. Da Wei has arrived in the harsh desert with a group of her brother's guild members with one purpose: to kill Lee. She is there for revenge, and she is even joined by many other players who want to kill Lee to earn the bounty placed on him. She thanks Drake for helping them to catch Lee, as he gets info from the PK League and can lead them to his current position. In return, Drake says he wants money for assassinating Lee. Da Wei agrees, as she just wants Lee dead and is ready to transfer him the amount. The next day, Da Wei's entire party is ready to murder Lee, while she is just dreaming about stabbing him with a sword. Instead of Lee, they find a huge pile of turd and camel and start wondering if they were wrongly informed. Lee arrives with an earthquake at this point and summons a huge monster to confront his would-be killers. A day before Lee's murder raid, Drake meets up with him, and it turns out that they had planned to misinform the raid party on purpose. Drake is confused as to what Lee plans to do with hundreds of players that are about to be gathered to kill him, and Lee just laughs off his concerns. Back to the present, the sandworm has terrified the entire murder raid and no one is ready to fight it. However, Da Wei is not going to let them give up so easily and instructs them all to hunt the monster. She also finds out that Drake was a double agent and is actually supporting Lee in this fight. Meanwhile, Lee is glad that his plan is working and no one has been able to get near him to cause any damage. And he is the one who has defeated the sandworm with a single hit of the chisel. The raid party starts celebrating after they figure out that they have hunted down the monster, when Lee arrives, giving them a reality check that he is the one who defeated the monster. This is when Da Wei appears out of nowhere to hit him, as he has finally let his guard down. Wei attacks him but gets the damage herself, since Lee has the armor that allows him to reflect the attack to his enemies. Drake is concerned about his safety, which is truly touching. He shows Drake the sandworm's hide, which is the latest item he has collected, which is one of the best items in the game. Drake is willing to tag along with him since he is so entertaining, and mentions that Wei is really skilled as well. But some of the raid members don't want to let Lee take all the rewards for killing the sandworm. But Lee and Drake manage to hide under the sandworm's hide just in time to leave them hanging. They log out of the game, and Lee uploads another video of his quest, which is being watched all over the world. Taegong is in school when his peers talk about Lee's skills in the game, and he leaves before homeroom. He is walking around the city thinking about how to make money when a flyer lands in his hand, which shows him the opportunity to make 1 billion. Lee has paid a visit to his uncle's house for the first time in a long while, where he's being shouted at yet again. They move on to discuss Lee's grandfather's inheritance, and it looks like he isn't getting much of it. Thankfully, he is already making millions by playing his favorite game. He offers his help to file the case in court and do all the paperwork, which impresses his cousins as well. Lee doesn't want his cousins to end up miserable, and he knows that he hasn't gotten the chance to return back to the past just so he can let bad things happen to his family. Moreover, Lee has ordered a brand new car to be delivered to his uncle's place, and drives off in it in front of his entire family, leaving them shocked. In the car, he is excited for the Asian Toto League to start, which has the prize money of 1 billion. The event has begun, with the host announcing the names of the participant players for the first match, whose names are PK, Joe, and Matiosi. The first match in celebration of the event's opening day is about to begin, and it's Matios versus PK Joe. Everyone is cheering for PK Joe as they know him, but no one is aware of Matios' identity, which is why they aren't willing to cheer for him. Matios knocks out PK Joe before he can even react, and the fan-favorite player is defeated while the newbie Matios wins. He is actually Taegong and is capable of the skills needed to win. Matios is confident that he can easily defeat all these newbies who think they can win. Soon, his words are proven to be true as he defeats many players one after the other. Now, in order to win the prize money, he has to win 3 more matches. However, his next match is against Goinmol, which is the Korean word for stagnant water. Can it be Lee who has signed up as Goinmol? Taegong tries to figure out his opponent and thinks that his height is off a few centimeters than the time he met Lee in the dungeon. Maybe it isn't the same player after all. Goinmol tells him that none of his hits will land on him as the match begins, and Taegong takes the challenge. They begin fighting, and Taegong observes that his speed is also slower than the real guy, and wants to finish him off by pretending to be stagnant water. He gets even faster and uses his forged gauntlet to launch his attacks, and leaves everyone shocked with his impeccable fighting abilities. This Goinmol can drop out after 2 rounds at this rate. He soon reveals himself to be Kosi, who is the pro gamer ranked 3rd in China, and he looks ready to take on Taegong and promises to not let the fight be easy this time. Goinmol keeps grinning while Taegong attempts to strike him, as he is incredibly fast, especially for his size. Taegong needs to create some distance first, while Goinmol uses a ranged attack at him. Taegong's health is almost depleted and he ends up surrendering to survive, making Goinmol win the match. The audience is cheering for him, however they are confused as to what a professional player is even doing in this match anyway. The next opponent is contestant number 3, who isn't recognized by anyone, but manages to make it out of the nameless group. Taegong walks off, agreeing that Kosi is a difficult player to beat, wondering who would win if he faced the real stagnant water. This is when a disguised player tells him that he would have won the match against Goinmol if he had hit his stomach instead of his chin. Taegong wonders if this guy is the real stagnant water as his mannerisms are the same, but can't say for sure as the player walks off for his match. As the players are announced, this contestant actually turns out to be stagnant water, who is Lee, and is matched against Kosi. The match begins and the arena starts shaking, leaving Kosi confused and scared, as he can't even stand properly. Lee has really brought his actual game to this match. Lee has uploaded a lot of videos and has managed to gain many subscribers online. However, this much income is nowhere near enough for his future plans, and he has a long way to go. This is when he finds the flyer for Toto League and thinks that he knows a lot about the major ranks and the odds of them winning. So this is basically a win-win for him. He joins the league to place bets and finds that Taegong has also signed up for this league. He places his bets on Kosi and doesn't want to lose all his money and figures that his next opponent will surely be famous if he wins. This is how Lee becomes his next opponent and uses the Earthquake Golem's Infinity Gauntlet, which has a very high attack power. Kosi knows that he needs to close the distance if he wants to beat Lee, but he is obviously not going to let that happen so easily. He launches another earthquake, and the ground starts turning into sand, which makes Kosi even more baffled. Lee reveals that he has chosen to impersonate Ma Dong-won, who was also one of the top Korean players, who doesn't get enough recognition and is forgotten by the gaming industry a year after his debut. Kosi feels like his body is being pulled to the center, and he comes into Lee's attack range, who strikes him, and everyone in the arena is impressed, including Taegong. Lee is being attacked by a player and doesn't know how to defend himself. How did things even end up like this? 1 week ago, inside a cafe in Gangnam Street, Hong Yang-hwa, who is the youngest production director of the LGB broadcast station, is sitting worrying about her makeup getting smeared. She is waiting for stagnant water as her meeting with him was arranged some time ago when she had never expected him to reply. She had seen him online as the streamer who has stolen the top place on every broadcasting platform for himself and has become a celebrity. She is too excited when he replies to her emails, and it's unbelievable that a star is interested in a show by a small broadcasting station. She looks too nervous to even speak when a boy appears with a mask on his face. She figures that he is stagnant water, and thankfully, Lee isn't naked there like he is in the game. Lee reveals that he is attached to her show and broadcasting channel, even though it hasn't received the recognition they deserve yet. Lee tells her that he has a lot of broadcasting content planned out and is looking for expert advice on the matter, and she is ready to hear this idea. Lee tells her that he is ready to challenge the Tomb of the Brave, which leaves her speechless. This tomb is an event dungeon where players compete to see who can climb to the higher floors in a shorter time. She believes that it will be great content even if he manages to get to the 46th floor, and her show might get a revival if this broadcast is successful. She gets excited and believes that he can do it, and 1 week later, Lee is standing in front of the Tomb of the Brave, which is being recorded and edited by Yang-hwa to be broadcasted. The Tomb of the Brave has 108 floors, filled with monsters that the players have to defeat in order to win. The ratings of these monsters increase with each floor, and he remembers that nobody has managed to clear all the floors yet. Currently, the highest solo record is the 45th floor, and it would be nice if he manages to break the record. However, his real goal is to search for a clue on getting to the final 3 artifacts here. He begins to enter the tomb, wanting to see how many floors he can clear, almost confident that he can beat the world record. Lee is facing a difficult situation and looks like he will die if he doesn't get up. He can't let these rankers overtake him in his life either, and attacks with his chisel, standing as a winner by the end. He is glad that he wasn't forced to retire from the challenge after looking at the Slime Queen on the floor. How could he spend 2 years trying to fight the Slime Queen? However, Lee tells Yang-hwa that the Slime Queen has the widest attack range in the game and no strategy can dodge its special move called pudding packing. He has clearly wasted too much time on the first floor and hopes that it will be easier from the next floor. He fights the monsters one after the other on every floor and finally enters the 46th floor and hasn't taken any damage throughout, which is impressive. He is confronted by Kaido Maru, and it looks like he is the unexpected bonus and uses the basilisk poison on it. Lee finds its attack pattern too predictable and defeats the boss of the 46th floor as easily as he arrived. Yang-hwa is obviously cheering for him since he is the first one to defeat the boss Kaido Maru, and she can't believe she has witnessed her record being broken. He gets the essence of Kaido Maru as the reward item, and he starts a fusion with another one of his items. This will surely give him even more ratings when the video is broadcast. He enters the 47th floor and finds the promiscuous succubus waiting here for him. Lee smiles after the succubus arrives as he has been waiting for her, and Younghwa thinks that she looks weaker than the other bosses. Is it because she's a female? The succubi can either be of two types. One is the physical attack type and the other is the magical attack type. This one belongs to the physical attack type, and it would have been much easier to defeat her if she'd have belonged to the other type. She attacks him and proves to be really strong and too fast. Dodging her is proving to be difficult for Lee, but he hopes that he will be able to finish it earlier. He activates the tenacious of sandworm leather and launches depravity, but his plan doesn't seem to have worked. He needs to do something about her speed, and he might have to use his secret weapon. He brings out the essence of the Slime Queen, which makes her feet stick, and Younghwa thinks that it's a bad idea to provoke her like this. She may be right since her attack power starts to look even stronger than before. Of course, anyone would be angry if a slime is thrown at them. Her speed goes down somehow, which buys him enough time until the item fusion is complete, and uses the Kanshomaro's food leather, which has the special perk of Fiery Step, which applies fire damage wherever you step on. He strikes with a lava kick, and all the fire is concentrated on the succubus, and he defeats her with this attack. He also gets a tiger sword as a reward, which can make him a lot of money if he puts it up for auction. Younghwa asks him what it feels like to be the first person who's about to enter the 48th floor of the tomb, but is left surprised when Lee tells her that he's going to stop here. Dayu has uploaded one of her broadcasts, but she is extremely frustrated at Lee for making her do broadcasts when her life was going fine by playing the game and doing guild work. However, she has to make broadcasts to be able to run the guild right now, and just wants to kill Lee somehow. Chang has also been trying to defame Lee by filing complaints against him to no avail. She needs to come up with a better plan, but first it's time for her favorite broadcasting show, which is Younghwa's show where Lee is announced as the special guest. This revelation blows Dayu's mind when Younghwa starts talking about her experience while working with Lee. On the other hand, Lee has a meeting with Younghwa where she tells him that the audience ratings of the show were off the charts, especially since the end of the broadcast was so shocking. 1 week ago, Younghwa is asking Lee why he wants to go back when he has reached such a high floor of the tomb. While he thinks that the tomb makes for good content and he shouldn't waste it in one go, he has decided to set a higher score whenever someone beats his record, which will be good enough for good broadcast content. She is confused as to why he has come to the reinforcement center, and her question is answered when he reinforced the tiger sword. However, she is speechless when he keeps reinforcing it until he reaches the 8+ level, and her brain is unable to keep up with such rapid development. She actually can't contain her extreme shock when the reinforcement reaches 9+, and asks him to stop and put the reinforcement stone down. She thinks he has listened to her until he tries for reinforcement again and fails this time. The +9 tiger sword is destroyed, and Younghwa faints after experiencing this emotional ride. She is glad that the comments section blew up thanks to that, but it was a waste of an item. However, Lee reveals that it wasn't actually a waste since the item was dormant, which will be discovered later. They decide to part ways after making plans for the next broadcast, until Lee gets an email invitation from Jae-young once again, who is the coach for the pro gaming team K1. However, he finds out that this email is sent to him and his fake Ma Dong-won account. Director Nim is losing his mind trying to track down Lee and get him to join his team. He really can't let a foreign team snag him right under his nose, and he meets all the requirements for becoming a famous pro gamer. This is when Lim Joseph appears at his door, asking if this Ma Dong-won guy is actually this good to be obsessing over like this. Lim is clearly not impressed with this new guy and figures that this player isn't willing to come out and play by the rules anyway since he made his money by playing in the illegal Toto League. However, the director believes it's the best time to get Ma Dong-won on board, which angers Lim as he never gets as much attention from the director. At this time, the director faints and Lim finds out that the reason is Ma Dong-won's reply, asking how much salary he can expect. On the other hand, Lee reveals that he made an alternate account with the username Madong Wong after taking part in the Toto League so he could upload the PK video footage. It's hard for him to believe that his fake avatar was invited for pro gaming before Stagnant Water, but this looks like the best deal ever for him. He remembers turning down a lot of such deals since the pay was next to nothing, but now might be a good time to make the government sponsor esport more actively. At the Seoul National Branch K1 practice room, the director introduces Madong Wong to everyone else, but they look creeped out by his mask and voice changer. Lim isn't happy with him, obviously, but director Nim tries to defuse the situation while Lee thinks that both of them have great chemistry when it comes to bickering in public. He decides to maintain his arrogant image and talks back to Lim for being the idiot who has waited 2 hours for him to arrive. All the other players start calling him out for this rude behavior, while the director tries to maintain decorum amongst the players. Lim wants to put him in his place and suggests that he should take an entrance test to see if his skills are really worth making a fuss about. They suggest that the lowest ranked players should start competing with him. However, Lee suggests that they should do a 4-against-1 match, since he doesn't have time to fight all of them separately. The fight is about to begin between the 4 players of the pro gaming squad and Madong Wong, who is wearing his costume now. The pro gaming players believe that fighting 4-against-1 is overkill, since Lee will have to face the director after being disciplined. All of these players, including Lim, are highly ranked with special skills and equipment, and Lee finds this lineup to be dazzling for sure. He is a newbie who is about to face a rank 1, 5, 7, and 9 by himself. This is surely going to be fun. In the monitor room, the director is not pleased with his players for ganging up on Madong Wong and asks Taegong the reason for backing out of this fight, and replies that he didn't feel like it, which sounds fair enough. The healer moves forward to fight Lee and tells him to stop using earthquakes as his attack style. However, Lee strikes him, and soon enough he is killed in a matter of seconds, leaving everyone shocked. So the next player to attack him is Song, who is a rapier who believes that Lee won't be able to see him due to the cloaking effect. The other players also attack him simultaneously, when Lee starts to wonder if he will end up losing against them. Suddenly, the ground starts boiling and everything turns into lava when Lee's skill starts melting the ground, and it's finally showtime. The pro players strategize to double their offense, but Lee isn't going to let them escape so easily. He activates his vortex skills and believes that winning might actually turn out to be easier than he thought. Lee existed to see Lim going all out against him as he is #1 ranked player in the country, but Lim is not willing to go down without defeating him. Lee uses all the frontal attacks using the earthquakes and eventually crushes the dream team of the 4 leading players of the country. Taegong thinks that he has become ruthless since the last time he saw him at the Toto League and plays in a completely different way from his seniors. The director is also ready to ride out the higher contract for Madong Wong, while Taegong decides that he wants recognition by standing by Lee's side. Drake and Lee have arrived at the Castle of the Malice to receive the last of the 3 artifacts. Lee tells him that there is a secret passage at the heart of the castle that leads straight to the boss room. However, there are too many annoying zombies in the way. They can't deal with all of them, so it comes down to avoiding them in the end. This is when they hear a woman scream, and Lee doesn't agree with Drake that they should go and save her. They first have to focus on their quest, and will save the woman if she is still alive later. They enter and find Camilla the Gossiper, who is a zombie-type monster who is instantly shot down by Drake. Her spirit rises the next instant, and they have discovered a new quest called the Hidden Gossiper. Camilla reveals that the priest punished her just because she gossiped, and was left to die after she couldn't collect all the feathers of a pillow she emptied as her punishment. They have to basically help her collect all the white feathers, which are scattered all over the floor they are standing on. Lee uses the fiery step to burn up all the feathers and complete this quest instantly. After this, Camilla throws her black pillow at them, which is the key to reaching the boss room. Lee tears the pillow and scatters all the feathers, which changes the day to nighttime. And now the zombies have begun to scan their surroundings. They spot a hole which isn't conveniently placed when Da Yu arrives there. Was she the one screaming earlier? They slide into the hole before getting mixed up with her, and she follows after them. Half an hour before arriving at the Castle of Malice, Dayu is recording a broadcast called Survive the Castle of Malice. She records all the zombies near the entrance, and she is ready to completely review the zombie-infested dungeon. She enters the castle and is soon running away from the zombies, screaming for her life. She is deliberately looking scared as her viewers enjoy a girl who is running away from monsters and is saved, asking her viewers to make donations if they don't want to see her die. Of course, she is trained in combat, so she isn't going to die so easily. Plus, the zombies are slower in the daytime, so it's easy to fight them off. However, the nighttime arrives soon and the dead come looking for her. This time, she actually needs to run away from them until she spots Lee and Drake, who are standing in front of the secret hole that leads to the castle's depths. When she follows them into the hole and lands on the ground, she can't help but scream at Lee, but this obviously isn't the safest place to get angry at him right now, so she calms down. On the other hand, another player is standing in front of a monster ready to fight it. Drake, Lee, and Dayu are fighting off a monster together like a team. After they are done, Lee and Dayu start arguing again, playing the same old blame games. She wishes that she could kill him right now, but can't do it since there are zombies all around. Plus, she has to deal with Drake as well, and decides to tag along with them so they can be a raid party. Lee rejects her request to form a party as it isn't his style, while Drake is just his companion. She tries to convince him to form a party, but gives up when he asks her to give up her axe in return. He tells her that she can tag along as she doesn't get in the way. They continue on their way after this, and Dayu is baffled when she hears Lee explaining everything that they might find in the castle. How does he know all of this? He covers it up by saying that he has done his research in advance, when actually he has collected all this data from the countless players who have died while playing the game over time. Drake spots a light up ahead, and Lee expects the mini-boss to make an appearance any second. They enter the underground prison and come face to face with the thieving jack-o'-lantern monster who is already active. Maybe someone else has come before them and woke it up. Lee wonders who that player can be, and his question is answered when they watch someone fighting this monster. Drake is impressed with his ability to fight so well, while Lee thinks that he needs to kill him since he is the most infamous serial killer called Zodiac Bundevale. Lee remembers that Zodiac Bundevale's kill count was in the thousands, and most of them were due to online conflicts. He is closer to a monster than a fellow player, and he is carrying out a hunt in front of him right now. Zodiac is almost done with defeating Jack-o'-lantern until Drake strikes him with an arrow on his arm. He turns around to fight Drake, as he had asked Lee to let him fight Zodiac first. Lee had offered one piece of advice in return. He should avoid close combat since he has an inability to feel pain. Drake takes on the challenge, and the two of them get in an intense fight until Zodiac manages to paralyze him and is about to finish him off. However, Lee enters just in time with his firewalking ability and injures Zodiac, who wonders where these brats even came from. Lee is shocked that he still isn't dead, and they start fighting each other until the jack-o'-lantern wakes up again. This is when Zodiac asks Dayu to team up with him to kill Lee, since he can sense that she wants to murder him, and sends her an invite to form a party. Dayu wonders how this Zodiac guy knows that she wants to kill Lee, and thinks that they can assassinate him together if his health is still strong. Meanwhile, Lee tries to talk her out of this stupid proposition. She obviously doesn't trust Lee since she has died countless times because of him in the game. Maybe she can trust the Zodiac a little, so she accepts his invitation. Drake thinks it's bad news since Dayu's level is pretty high, but suddenly, her health starts draining rapidly. Apparently, Zodiac has transferred 99% of the damage he took to his newly acquired party member with the help of the necklace he's wearing that has the distribute effect in it. He is also wearing a Cultro Lizard Scale armor, which has rapid regeneration as its special effect, and his weapon allows him to use dismemberment. He definitely looks like he's a few steps ahead of them. It's insane how fast he is at clearing all these levels that Lee wants to clear. However, it's not easy to just stab Dayu in the back without consequences, as she applies a sleep debuff on her ally Zodiac, and both of the annoying foes are dealt with in an instant. Suddenly, they remember Jack-o'-lantern, who is still there, so Lee instructs Drake to shoot 3 arrows at his head, after which the thief wants to talk to them. He asks them if they would be willing to join him to get revenge on the person who imprisoned him, and Lee declines his offer. However, Jack thanks him for waking him up and offers to open the door for them so they can meet the owner of the castle. He opens the back door to the boss room, where he will find the boss monster that will drop the last artifact which Zodiac used to instill fear in many people. Now he is prepared to change history with a single item. They have entered the door that leads to the boss room and expect the middle boss to pop up around here somewhere. Soon, they are confronted by a Gorgon which Drake wants to fight since he regrets not being able to finish it off the last time and tells Lee to go on. Lee has arrived at the lowest floor of the castle, called the King's Right, and spots the Monster King sitting on this throne. Looks like defeating him is not going to be easy, as he is called the King of Darkness. Lee is glad that his attack patterns are the same. However, with a single strike from the king, his health drops by half. How deadly will a full-blown attack by this monster be? Lee eats the Halloween candy given to him by Jack-o'-lantern that will help him defeat the king according to him, and it might actually be true since his health goes up to full again. He has a lot of knowledge as he used to be a game addict for years, and he wants to get the last artifact from the King of Darkness no matter what. Lee observes that he needs to avoid the first pattern of the king, while the rest are easy since they move in the same intervals and timings. He keeps having the Halloween candy, which is proving to be quite useful, and is a little confused by the lines the king is saying since he didn't say them when he first encountered him. The king uses its special effect to devour Lee's health, and he expects to die in 370 seconds. However, he knows that the king can't do any other attacks after activating his special effect. And since he has the candy, he just has to stab the king while healing himself. The king attempts to win by using his physical attacks, but it's too late for that now. Lee uses the passive effect Venom, which is 4 times stronger than the usual poison damage, which will affect the king's health every second, ending this battle in about 30 minutes. Lee is shocked to find the king smiling and finds out that it's because he is using 2 special effects at once. The other special effect is the Dark Hand, which is the king's ultimate attack, which can cause 500% damage to the opponent. Lee believes that the cloak and the sandworm can protect him, but he has to eat the Halloween candy to maximize his health. Lee goes back and forth between full health and damage with the Blood Devourer's special effect. He wants to utilize the cloak of the sandworm, but he has to maintain his health on full for that. He promises to return 495% of the damage back to the king and strikes him hard, and suddenly he can see nothing. Lee starts wondering that the King of Darkness might have retained his sanity for now, but after players keep defeating him, he loses his sanity and becomes thirsty for blood. The next second, he is being woken up by Drake as he got knocked out. What about the King of Darkness though? Is it alive? He looks at the King of Darkness, who is still muttering lines that he doesn't remember him saying. It looks like he has been defeated, and he clearly can't handle losing. Lee gets the Ring of the King as the reward, which is the final artifact he has been looking for. He asks Drake if he got his revenge from the Gorgon, and Drake looks happy, so he actually managed to get his revenge with interest. They celebrate the completion of their raid when Lee finds out that he is getting another reward for being the first one to complete this solo raid. A box appears in front of him, which has Solomon's necklace as a reward. Looks like the King of Darkness was King Solomon, and Lee has unlocked another hidden quest called King Solomon's Will. In the will, the king narrates that he used to be intelligent until one day 7 demons who controlled the world put him in an endless test. He wants the person reading this will to avenge him against the demon named Beelzebul. His will isn't summarized in 3 sentences, so Lee stops reading it and tucks away the necklace and the quest for now. He will avenge him for sure one day when he will find the need to use this necklace. Since he has finally collected the 3 artifacts called the Godslayer set, he can crush anyone who can kill him in this world. A few days later, Lee gets a call from director Nim that his pro-gaming debut is scheduled. Lee gets a call from young Hua, who gets upset that he hasn't even saved her number and tells him that they are about to start some new content for her show and wonders if he wants to appear as a guest. He turns down the offer since he's busy, but promises to make some time in the next month. Young Hua places a bet with him. saying that if she correctly guesses the person he was talking about previously, he will have to come to her show 10 times. Lee is confident that she doesn't know until she takes Motto King's name, as he is the only super hot rookie in the underground right now. Lee mentions Lim Joseph, who is said to be arrogant, serves Motto King as well and allows her to use his quote. She cuts the call after letting him know that he can call her as a guest for his streaming anytime he wants, which makes Lee proud of himself. Soon, he gets a text from the director, who asks him to come to the studio the next day as they need to talk about something. Apparently, the company Auto Gotti is going to host a large pro league soon, and his debut has been decided, which might be there only using the Demon King concept. Lee is happy that everything is going according to his plan and decides to have some fun in his car even though he is still naked. A cop catches him for driving naked. However, he isn't arrested as he stayed in his car. Thankfully, the cop let him borrow his underwear. He is soon at the studio, where wearing clothes feels awkward to him since he is used to running around naked. The director tells him that he is his guarantor of identity, since Lee doesn't want to reveal his actual identity. But he isn't going to fall for his trap, so he tells him that they will negotiate his salary after the league. He is aware that his popularity will increase after his debut, when his salary demand will increase, which he can use to get the highest amount. Coming to the main topic, the director tells him about the Otogi Boat Pro League competition, where they will start at the league that picks the sole representative. Their biggest rival there is called Team Elites, who happen to be their first opponent as well. The Elites are a rival pro team that was created at the same time as Nation K1, who are sponsored by large corporations, so they have a higher budget. They have recently recruited 3 new rankers who are a real pain as they synchronize their attacks. Their leader is Hongjin No, who was replaced by Lim Joseph as the top ranker. Lee remembers the clash between the Elites and Nation K1 because it was the hottest and biggest issue with record-breaking betting prices. The wait is finally over, and the Otogi Boat League starts with the Challenge League. The Elites are welcomed on stage as the first team, with Hongjin No leading them. The 3 new rankers are Gyeonbi, Yunbi, and Dongbi, who look like they are sisters. Next, Nation K1 arrives to the fight with Lim Joseph leading them as the crowd cheers for their favorites. However, no one knows who Lee is since he is wearing a mask. Everyone has their own theory that he is just an underground brat who is newly recruited by the team. The Elites don't think that a stray like him can actually be a threat to them, and they plan to target the actual threat. The first match is between the leader of the Elites, Hongjin No, against K1 super rookie, Mate Gang. They arrive in the harsh desert, while the director looks at the monitor thinking about how Lee convinced them to use Taegong in the first match since he has superior skills but no experience. Gino doesn't think that Taegong is his equal in any way, and this match is too easy for him. However, he is taken aback when Taegong uses a powerful punch from the start, and he gets damage even though he blocked it. Gino shouldn't have mispredicted his strategy early on, so he strikes him with poison damage, which will make him lose a percentage of his health every second. He waits for him to retreat so he can strike like a storm, but is surprised to see him coming closer. Taegong strikes harder this time, making Gino fall on his back. Lee observes the match and thinks that Gino's mistake was to think that Taegong is just a checkpoint on his way to Lim. Taegong's speed is too high even for him, and he surpasses Lim in this department for sure. Taegong has defeated Gino, which is actually surprising for everyone, including the director. Lee thinks about how he was one of the spectators watching all these rankers fighting each other. What if he hadn't watched that match that day? Would things be different now? Instead of thinking about the past, Lee wants to look at his present self, who is standing on top of the stage where investors and their allies clash. This is enough to make his heart race as he has betted everything he has on investments. Everyone expected Gino to win, but he had placed a bet on Taegong's victory, which is why he was able to gain 7 times his cash. In the next match, 5 players will form a team and go against the opposite team in a one-on-one battle. The player who wins will be able to fight the next opponent. Taegong is low on health currently. Will he be able to continue fighting? Looks like he's ready to keep fighting, and his confidence is as fierce as his fighting style. The Elites send Lee Geung-hyung, who is a monk with a special ability to heal himself. 10 minutes later, Taegong has managed to predict all of his skills and gets healed himself instead. Gun-hyung swaps before he is killed, as this game is a tag match and he's allowed to switch with his team members. Dong-bi is the next opponent from the Elites, who is one of the three sisters that they have recruited. She throws the seeds as some bloodthirsty plants start growing around Taegong, which will make him lose his health as quickly as possible. After setting the field, she swaps with her sister Yunbi as she starts attacking him, since the sap in the field has made his movements much slower. He dodges her attacks but doesn't have much health left anyway. The third sister, Yunbi, arrives as the director instructs him to swap, but Lee thinks that he should keep fighting and die if he has to. Taegong's health goes to zero when Yunbi uses her finishing move. However, it's almost unbelievable that Taegong has countered her attack at the brink of death and causes damage to his final opponent. Everyone cheers for him as he comes out of the game, and Lee shows him a thumbs up from afar, making the player smile. Lee is going to bet on his team, even though he knows that in the past it was the Elites who won the match. He has already won so much money thanks to Taegong, so he obviously can't complain. Moreover, the players who are used to one-on-one battles have a hard time dealing with the three sisters. K1's players lost in front of them, including Joseph, who managed to stay alive for a while, but it was all he could do. The match has gotten bigger than Lee expected, and this is when the director thinks that Ma Dong-won is the only one who may be able to win the match for them. Lee agrees to go and wants to win no matter what, to win the money in the bet he has placed. Everyone in the audience thinks that he is a rookie who will lose within 5 minutes, but they aren't obviously aware of his reputation. He enters the game, making Dong-bi wonder if she has met him before since he's already pissing her off. Shaking off her thoughts, she throws the seeds again, making the poisonous plants grow on the field around him. She promises to finish him off quickly and uses lockdown shock, but the energy gets reflected, which leaves her baffled. Nobody knows how he managed to counter the attack, which was supposed to make him paralyzed. It's revealed that he is wearing Stagnant Water's equipment right now with all the items he collected. Yunbi is the next one to arrive, who promises to end him with one attack since he has one health number left. He disappears into midair while she tries to aim her arrows at him, making her all confused. However, it's too late for her to swap and she gets defeated after he strikes her down from above. Two core players of the Elites have been defeated in the blink of an eye, which leaves everyone unable to predict the outcome of this match. 1 week before the competition, the director is telling Lee about the three sisters of K1 Studio. Lee knows them, obviously, and remembers that they retired to go back to high school. Lee tells the director that he wants $10,000 per kill as his salary if he beats all three of them, which is the best treatment a player can receive. The director agrees to his condition if he actually does well in the league. Gun-hyung comes into the game to challenge him, since he knows that his health is at a minimum. However, the floor turns into lava and Gun-hyung is defeated instantly. The next opponent is Yunbi, who promises to defeat him with the same firepower he has been using on everyone. As expected, she proves to be quite fast for Lee, but he keeps dodging all of her attacks. Lee has seen enough of her attacks in his last life, which is why dodging them is simple enough. He decides to use her next move instead, and thrusts at him, which he has blocked yet again. He can't wait for these sisters to retire and give their exams, so he can have this stage to himself while he defeats her by counterattacking her thrust. Lee is looking for the next opponent, but he comes out of the game to a stadium which is filled with cheers from the crowd. On the other hand, Da-yu has also been watching the league and has seen that Ma Dong-won is an insane player. Back to the league, Taegong and Lim were indestructible after the first match, and K1 won all the matches triumphantly, finally entering the league as Seoul's representative team. Lee has collected all of his betting money and has made countless profits from the match. A few days after the league, he goes out for a drive on the streets as he wants to look for land to start a capsule hotel. He wants to earn some real money as he has enough capital now to make the business he has been planning a reality. It's Friday night, so there are a lot of people out on the street, which isn't really his cup of tea. Maybe it's because he's grown older from inside. He spots Da-yu in the crowd and remembers that she had sent a message to Ma Dong-won's account a few days ago. He opens her messages where she has been asking him to kill someone that she wants to murder really badly. No points for guessing who that is, of course. Da-yu is also not too happy about being out on Friday night, as she prefers games filled with monsters and bloody raids. This is when she gets a reply from Ma Dong-won, who says okay to her request of killing another player. Da-yu is confused about Ma Dong-won replying to her right now, since she really didn't expect him to accept an assassination request. But maybe she could just make use of this chance. She asks him to meet her somewhere, and he replies that he is ready to meet her now, telling her to look behind. This is when she spots a masked person standing behind her car. In the next instant, he is in her car beside her. Lee thinks about his past life when he knew Da-yu but never went for a personal drive with her. She keeps asking him silly questions, and he answers with a heavy voice. Coming to the point, he tells her that he knows she wants to kill Stagnant Water, as he wanted to fight him even if it wasn't because of her request. She believes him and suggests that she can set up a magnificent fight for him, which will help make lots of money as well. Lee thinks that it's actually her who wants to make the content through Ma Dong-won and Stagnant Water, as both of them are popular players. She sure has a unique brain, as she is willing to advertise the whole fight too. She wants to give him all the money and only wants Stagnant Water to die in return. She goes on a rant about how much she hates him and wants to play in a world without him for at least a day. She is actually making Lee look like her stalker, when she is the one who's always gotten her way. Her loss was because of her own actions, which she isn't ready to believe. She tells him that all she has managed to do is add 3,000 hate comments on his streams and continues to ask him to act on their guild's name when he goes to kill him. Now Lee has understood that she wants to gain popularity for her guild as well, since he doesn't like living in packs. In order to convince him, she asks him out to grab some ramen, which he turns down as he doesn't feel any attraction for her, while he used to be crazy for her older version. Thus, he prepares to leave after clearing the trash from her car. He reveals that he has developed a habit of cleaning out her car and hasn't been able to leave that habit still. This leaves her a bit weirded out, as she has never seen anyone clearing out someone else's trash. Looks like it's Stagnant Water versus Ma Dong-won, as he has finally arrived to assassinate him. However, Stagnant Water isn't going to let him win easily. Meanwhile, their fight is being live-streamed on this channel after he has censored his maps, so there's no way to tell where they are. All the viewers are excited about the big match between the two, but suddenly they see Stagnant Water being swept away and the live stream ends. Did Ma Dong-won just win? The next second, Stagnant Water posts another video where he tells his viewers that the stream was canceled due to a death penalty, as someone killed him in the game, and promises to return the next day. Da-yu is extremely happy that he is finally defeated. Now she can sleep in peace. However, Stagnant Water soon claims that he will take revenge from Ma Dong-won the next day at the same time. Da-yu doesn't believe that a pro like Ma Dong-won can lose to a naked rookie like him. But she obviously doesn't want to see him lose, and plans to make more donations to him so he can have better items. Her thoughts are interrupted by her brother, who is angry at her for making so many donations. However, Da-yu doesn't care and is just happy that Ma Dong-won has mentioned her name in his video. On the other hand, someone else is wondering if Ma Dong-won and Stagnant Water are the same person. 6 months ago, at Dorian Gray's forest, Lee is confronted by 3 of his doppelgangers and a fight starts between them. He kills the 3 of them in a few minutes, after which doppelganger Kaiser appears in front of him. He puts on Ma Dong-won's full set of costume and armor to fight the Kaiser, who transforms into an exact copy of himself. The fight begins with the 2 lookalikes, and we have to see who manages to win. It's quite refreshing for Lee to fight himself, as he has incredible strength. However, he isn't there to fight himself today, and grabs the item he came for. He went to Dorian Gray's forest for 2 reasons. One was to get the picturesque mask for Ma Dong-won's debut as a pro gamer, which could only be crafted after tearing the Kaiser's skin. The other reason was to create a doppelganger, so he can just kill the duplicate Stagnant Water whenever both of them get suspected for being the same person. But presently, he never thought that he would carry out this plan because of Da-yu. He has come in front of the fake Ma Dong-won, while all the viewers are glued to their screens to watch the intense fight. Stagnant Water summons Jormungandr and rides the vortex as the clash between them begins. The fight between Stagnant Water and Ma Dong-won continues for both of them, using all their powers to defeat each other. It's about time Ma Dong-won creates an earthquake, which he does, while the viewers are amazed at them for fighting non-stop for 40 minutes. The field is completely destroyed while both the players are clashing head-on. They have used up most of their special skills when Ma Dongwon starts to leave the fight, leaving stagnant water and all of the viewers completely shocked. This time, Ma Dongwon's voice sounds different, as there isn't any voice changer, and this second battle is won by stagnant water. Dayu starts crying after watching her favorite player lose the battle and makes her brother's guild Ma Dongwon's official fan club. She wants to avenge Ma Dongwon herself with the help of her newly formed fan club. Meanwhile, Lee is too happy since both of his accounts are filling up with donations. Stagnant Water's channel is about to reach 1 million subscribers, and it looks like a lot of people are touched by Ma Dongwon's defeat. On the other hand, most of the female fans dislike Stagnant Water, but the males keep cheering him on. But none of it matters, since both of the players are Lee only. When he switches on his phone, there are too many follow requests on his account, but one message catches his eye. It's from his classmate from middle school, who had treated him like a loner and now is acting all close to him. Apparently, the old bully from school wants to hang out with him now. Thinking about his time at school, Lee has some unpleasant memories of being bullied, while only one person was nice to him. He wakes up from this unpleasant dream, not knowing when he dozed off. A week ago, Stagnant Water was approached by YouTube's future planning manager Sun Song Woo, who was called to invite him to a party at the end of the year. Lee liked getting attention in the past, but he doesn't want to be the center of the universe anymore. He sneaks out of the party and falls asleep while resting in his car. Looks like he got a dream about the past because of this invitation. He finally understands why the main characters of old fictional stories go and show off to their classmates and remember Yoon Sol, who was the one person in class who was kind to him. He wonders if she'll be coming as well, as he has something to tell her. Later, a few viewers are watching Taegong fighting solo against B-ranked monsters when they are interrupted by a 21-year-old soldier named Kwon Yok-woong, who thinks that these viewers are too old to still be watching this game. Lee arrives at his middle school reunion, where everyone is surprised to see him since he's so famous. Yok-woong is also there and calls him a loser in his head for still playing games. However, all of Lee's classmates are extremely nice to him, and they all watch his channel regularly as well. Yok-woong sits next to him, and Lee remembers him as the popular bully who used to beat him up for various reasons. Yok-woong starts to talk down to him for playing games at this age and starts bragging about all the money he has managed to save up. However, he is shocked to find Lee on TV as he is getting an award for being a rising YouTube star. Lee tells him that it is really fun when he sees money going into his bank account, which leaves the bully speechless. Later, all of his classmates start asking him for favors, and he regrets coming to this reunion. He starts to leave when he spots Yoon Sol in the crowd and follows her out of the building. He is glad that she recognizes him as well, but doesn't know what to say now that he has actually met her. He is too nervous and asks him to go somewhere with him where they can have a talk. Soon, they're sitting at a coffee shop where she congratulates him for getting an award. She has been studying business at a university and has graduated as well. He is happy for her and thanks her for giving him the field trip fee support waiver back in school when no one wanted to come near him. He could never forget this gesture as it meant a lot to him. However, she begins by apologizing to him and says that she came to the reunion in the hopes of meeting him. Her mother has been ill and there are too many hospital fees and rent expenses. She makes it clear that she doesn't want him to lend her money as she has started her own streaming channel, which is still small. He voices out her request himself, as she wants to appear as a guest on his channel for her streaming beauty channel. He agrees to help her since he wants to pay her back. The next day, Lee arrives at her place with some extra expensive equipment that he is giving to her. He meets her mother as well, who mistakes him for Yoon Sol's boyfriend. They start setting up the equipment and she is pleased to see that her house looks like a studio at a broadcasting station after she's done. Lee has to tell her to use better equipment to make her videos look professional. She tells him that she has only about 15 views on her videos, and he figures that she has a long way to go. He is ready to help her as they start the video with Stagnant Water appearing as her guest. At the same time in the tower, the brave Drake has reached the 47th floor of the tower, and he is ready to break Lee's record now. This is when he receives a notification that tells him to assassinate Stagnant Water. He wonders what Lee has been up to all this time. Seoul is demonstrating all of the makeup products on Lee, which is a lot different from the help he was expecting. There are a lot of comments from viewers who want to see her shade Stagnant Water's chest while she keeps applying a lot of makeup on him. They fool around for a bit until Lee realizes that she is actually really pretty. Her mom catches them with a shirtless Lee who has makeup on, and Seoul has her hair tied back and her face is red. The rest of the live stream continues with the same friendly atmosphere. 3 days later, Seoul's channel reached 150,000 subscribers. She calls to thank him for helping her out and invites him for dinner on her mom's behalf. He is glad that she has a good path ahead of her, and now he needs to get better at taking care of himself. Immediately after the collab, he had gotten a message from Drake who told him that there was another killing order for him. He has collected information on the people who had put out the killing order in the past few days, but he is interrupted by a girl who asked him if he has stagnant water. She throws a dye kit, which is a prank made by spirits, turning him into a bald pink man who is naked. She runs away after calling him Ma Dong-wong's enemy, while he can't do anything but watch her leave. He obviously can't break the internet by looking like this, and soon Drake arrives there looking as pink and bald as him. They are both laughing at each other's state when Drake tells him that the same girl threw a dye kit at him a few moments earlier. He tells Drake that a suspicious guild called Magyo has put the killing order on him as they are Ma Dong-wong's fan club. Both the pink men figure that they should start moving to begin their raid when Lee tells him that he's going to show him something fun now. Drake and Lee overlook the beginner's village where a huge group of people have gathered to kill stagnant water. Looks like they are really going to kill him today. Lee can't disguise himself since he is a pink, naked baldy right now. He has to go to the northern continent by crossing the beginner's village that is filled with people ready to kill him. He decides to do everything according to the plan and summons Jormungandr. Lee takes down 2 of his would-be killers the next second and everyone spots him. Suddenly, he is surrounded by everyone who wants to murder him. However, taking all of them down is not a big deal for Lee, but there's just too many people for him to handle alone. They are about to call for backup when every one of their security groups start calling for backup as all of them have spotted Lee. How is it possible? There's no way for them to tell which is the real stagnant water. Soon, Dawei arrives and guesses that these must all be monsters that look like stagnant water. Chang informs her that the stagnant water lookalikes in the different regions have run away to different directions, while some of them were killed. She orders them to divide the forces into 2 and sends them to the north and the east. She is going to lead the northern force personally, and she doesn't want to let him get away for killing Ma Dong-wong. Drake and Lee are on the move when Drake is impressed with him for using the monster lookalikes. He tells him that he went to Dorian Gray's forest and captured 12 doppelgangers before the fight. He successfully created chaos by using them and got out of the village successfully. Drake asks him his agenda of going to the northern continent, and Lee answers that he is just making a stop there as he wants to create a cataclysm. He wants to trigger the giant patch update and flip the entire game around, which can be done in the northern continent. Thus, they begin their raid and head toward the continent after their destination will be the harsh snowy mountains. Lee and Drake have entered the Frost Valley, where a frost ant is waiting to fight them. They team up to deal with the monster and rub its sap on their body for resistance against the blizzard. Raids are known to be impossible in the snow mountains as they are filled with monsters and traps. Lee is only worried about getting confronted by one monster, and this is when the frozen boss finds him. Lee looks scared for the first time and instructs him to run fast before he catches them. However, they are too late, and the frozen boss manages to get near them. He touches Drake's arm and his body starts freezing up until Lee unfreezes them. Apparently, the frozen boss has a trigger trait that freezes the opponent. The monster keeps chasing them, and they have to look out for it all the time since it's not easy to kill him. But do they even need to kill it? Come to think of it, there's a group of Magyo people coming after them. He can surely cook up some scheme against them. On this note, Dayu is shown fighting a frost wolf, which means that she is not far behind her target. They are confronted with tenacious penguins as well, which has killed over 100 people when Lee arrives there asking if they are even following them properly. Da-yu loses her mind after finding him there, and Lee can't help but smile when the Frost Boss appears in front of them. The Magyo mob has started freezing up thanks to the Frost Boss, and their health starts depleting. Da-wei can't keep up with the cold and asks her mob to try and stay alive till dawn at least. 500 people turn into 100 in the blink of an eye, which makes her even angrier at Lee. She is willing to go to the ends of the earth to kill him now. On the other hand, Lee is too happy after getting rid of the Frost Boss and making him tag Da-yu's mob instead. His plan actually worked. They have reached the frozen village where all the characters have been frozen by the Frost Boss. Soon, they enter the black ground frozen cave, which is basically a frozen ocean that they have to walk on. Lee threw the blood of the Frost Wolf on the frozen ice, which makes the ice shark Frostfang appear from the depths. This is when the hidden quest Nightmare of Depths is unlocked. This quest requires them to collect the shark's teeth, which makes Drake strangely excited. They start attacking the ice shark simultaneously, but it proves to be super fast for its size. They should focus on the quest instead of trying to kill it since they can't afford the ice beneath their feet to melt. Lee tries to understand the shark's attack pattern and comes up with a plan. They need something to block the hole it'll jump into, which makes Lee wonder where the mob that was following them is, since this is when he needs them. He is shocked to find them arrive here so soon, but looks at Da-wei wearing the Snow Goose's eye, which helps to track runaways. It is complete chaos for him, as he has the ice shark behind and the murderous mob in front of him. He tries to buy some time by asking Da-wei if she knows the secret of the item she is wearing. Da-wei is curious to know the secret of the Snow Goose's eye, and Lee makes a fool out of her by saying that it's still the same if you say it backwards. He is disappointed to find no laughter at his joke, while Da-wei believes that he is a trashy person who spits out trash and charges at him. However, she comes in front of the ice shark and tells its magic group to fire at it. Lee can't afford to lose the shark if it goes back into the depth after getting hit, and poisons the shark so it can go back into the hole. This will help him buy some time as well. The shark loses one of its teeth on the floor when the Frost Boss appears there. Lee is excited to see him since he is the one he was waiting for. Da-wei is frozen by the Frost Boss, and when she wakes up, her brother tells her that most of her mob is frozen, while Lee is gone after collecting the shark's teeth and completing his quest. Lee is happy that he managed to battle between the frozen boss and the ice shark, and still collected its teeth. Da-wei and her group start running away while the two monsters are busy fighting. She knows that she has to catch Lee in order to save face, while Chang thinks that they probably can't find him, and he might be the pioneer of the game after all. Da-wei is not ready to accept defeat, and spots Lee on a slope he looks like he's been waiting for them. She starts running towards them, while he stands on the edge of the earth ready to find out if the earth actually has an end. 15 years ago, one image titled "The Edge of the Earth" was uploaded to a community which interested many people, including Lee, who wondered if it was photoshopped. He was still a newbie at the time and wondered what lay beyond the edge of the northern continent. As he expected, a ship is there at the edge of the earth and Lee has found it. He and Drake walk inside to find the skeletal captain of the ship, who asks them to pay the ship fare if they want to be passengers. The fare is 30 million gold, which is too expensive, and Lee is ready to pay the money. Meanwhile, the mob of 20 people is coming after him. Lee has found the hidden quest, Nightmare of the Depths 2.0, so the captain asks him to give him some dentures for his weak teeth in return for a first-class ticket. It all makes sense, and Lee gives him the shark teeth he had collected, and his quest is completed. The captain puts on the dentures and is transformed into a man. He shows them to the first-class door, which looks nothing better than a fish storage room. On the other hand, the captain tells Da-wei the fare price per person, which leaves her shocked. Surely they can't afford to pay for such an expensive ticket. However, she knows that she can't turn around after coming this far and decides to open the guild treasury. She buys the ticket and the ship sets sail. Dawei finds that they can't open the first-class door and decides to wait them out and places guards on the doors. They want to kill them the moment they come out of the room. The ship hits the first wave when Dawei and the mob find out that the ship is surrounded by a weird creature. She figures that Lee knew about this and got the first-class room on purpose. It's the devil hand squid that has surrounded the ship and Dawei and her mob to have to deal with it. The ship doesn't have cannons, but they figure that it's a B-rank monster and they can kill it if they try. Moreover, the captain isn't going to help them as they are supposed to be responsible for their own lives. They plan to cut off the tentacles that are trying to board the ship, but 2 of them die in the attempt. 30 million gold is literally going to waste here. Dawei instructs them to reorganize when the captain announces the second wave, which brings the second monster, the Dunklet, with it. The monster is armored and attacks the ship. She tells the magicians to attack it with paralysis or electricity magic. She jumps on it to cause a distraction so that the magicians can do their long-range attack. They succeed at this attempt, however 2 more of their people die in the process. She can't be patient anymore and asks the captain about the 2 first-class passengers. The captain is not going to cooperate with her, obviously, and announces the last wave. This time, the Devil of the Abyss arrives, which is an A+ ranked monster. Apparently, he can talk as well and wants a sacrifice as his food, and requires 1 person per hour or else he promises to drag the ship to the bottom of the ocean. The captain can't let the monster have the first-class passengers, so the devil agrees to drag the passengers on deck down to the ocean. The captain obviously doesn't mind this solution. Approximately 4 hours are left for this voyage to end, and the captain can't turn the ship around unless the first-class passengers give their consent. They have unlocked the secret quest, while the devil keeps asking for a sacrifice. Dawei tries to attack it, but to no success since they aren't landing on the monster. They don't have time left until one of the members volunteer to offer themselves as a sacrifice. The monster takes its sacrifice away and the captain is glad to be done with this nuisance. Only 5 of the mob members are left now who discuss the plans ahead, especially who is going to be the next sacrifice. The monster appears again asking for a sacrifice, and one of them volunteers again since it's time for him to do his part, since it's time for him to go to his part-time job. Only 4 people are left with Dawei now. None of them wants to volunteer themselves as the sacrifice now, especially not the healer. Dawei wants to find a way to kill the monster now since only an hour is left for their journey to end. Surely they can endure him for an hour. She refuses to give the monster a sacrifice when he arrives, making him even more furious. He starts attacking the boat and the captain figures that it's finally going to sink now. However, Lee decides to come out of the room at this time looking ready to join this strange quest. Dawei is confused about Lee stepping out of the room after all this time, and is even more shocked when she watches Lee attack the devil and his attack actually impacts the monster. Meanwhile, he is enjoying beating up the elastic body of the monster. Everyone stares at him with baffled expressions when Drake arrives there ready to shoot his arrows at the monster as well. It's revealed that Lee has figured out the defensive traits of the monster and knows exactly where he wants to attack it. They have also smeared some ash on their weapons, which is why their attacks are hitting the monster right on target. A full-scale boss battle starts, so Lee asks Dawei and her companions to go into the first-class room to save themselves, and he still has some use left of them. Meanwhile, Dawei is angry at herself for not killing him on the spot. Moreover, Lee has explained his strategy to defeat the monster to Drake as well, and they prepare to attack the A+ rank boss. The captain is also helping Lee and Drake to fight off the devil, as they prepare to listen to the sounds made by the monster instead of just replying to their sight. They dance around the monster after figuring out the pattern, and the second phase of the fight begins, which doesn't follow a particular pattern of attacks. They go back to the basics for this and decide to dodge as much as possible. The Sea Devil is firing countless bullets at them, which is making this fight look hopeless, but they might succeed if they keep dodging them. They manage to buy time by not getting hit by the bullets when the Sea Devil decides to use its ultimate trick, which is a tsunami directed right at them. They don't have anywhere to hide, so they jump into the ocean, leaving Dawei shell-shocked. She thinks that they are dead and goes out on deck when she spots them standing in the reef. Everything has happened according to Lee's expectations, and this has allowed them to avoid the tsunami damage so they can finally move on towards the finale of the fight. Lee is ready to finish off this fight and jumps on top of the Sea Devil with his chisel and hits it with all of his strength, finally defeating it. The hidden quest is cleared and the wave starts subsiding. The ship also arrives at the drift ice and Da Wei prepares to go there, but finds that Lee and Drake are already on their way. They have entered the cursed drift ice Matryoshka and discovered another hidden quest which requires them to survive on top of the drift ice for 12 hours. Da Wei catches up to them as well, and Chang attacks them from behind. Lee has had enough of this little game with them and decides to use this opportunity to show them his new skill. He uses the friction coefficient which makes Chang's attacks bounce off of him. And this is the new skill that he has obtained after defeating the Sea Devil. He runs away with Drake, leaving the mob behind him covered in mucus. Da Wei wants to chase after them, but decides to pursue the quest and survive on the drift ice for 12 hours, as she doesn't believe it's going to be that hard. However, Chang believes that this place is weird, and they never know what kind of monster will pop out. They also spot a ship stuck between the ice mountain when the ground starts tilting and they are supposed to survive within a minute. Meanwhile, Lee and Drake run towards the cave, ready to win the drift ice owner's favor when Da Wei decides to follow them with her brother as well. How does Lee plan on winning the owner's favor? Will Da Wei finally catch up with them? Find out more in the next installment of this manhwa. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to find out more about Lee's obsession with the game world.